Bible Stories Illustrated, From Genesis to Jesus. If you are new to this channel, be sure to like, subscribe and ring the bell for all notifications for a 10-minute illustrated Bible story every day. In this video, you will hear the story of the day God changed Abram's name forever. This is not just a story about a name change. It is the moment when God repeated the promise and made it even more impossible than before. Many years had now passed since God first called Abraham to leave his home and follow him. Abram was no longer a young man who could easily start again. He was now 99 years old. Sarah was also very old, and she had never been able to have children. Yet the promise had never been forgotten. One day, God appeared again and spoke directly to Abram. God told him to walk before him and remain faithful. Then God said that he would confirm the covenant once more. Abram fell face down on the ground when he heard God speaking to him. God told him that he would become the father of many nations. This promise was even greater than anything Abram had heard before. God then said something that would change his life forever. He said that Abram would no longer be called Abram. From that day forward, his name would be Abraham. The new name meant that he would become the father of many people. This was not just a small change. It was a reminder that God's promise had not failed. It had only been waiting for the right time. God then told Abraham that kings would come from his family. Generations of people would come from him. The promise was now bigger than one child. It was about the future of entire nations. Then God spoke again about Sarah. Up to this point, the promise had mostly been spoken directly to Abraham. But now God made something completely clear. The promised child would come through Sarah. God said that her name would also be changed. She would no longer be called Sarai. From that day forward, her name would be Sarah. This was another sign that something important was about to happen. God promised that Sarah herself would have a son. When Abraham heard this, he was overwhelmed. He fell down and laughed. It seemed impossible that a man nearly 100 years old could become a father again. It seemed even more impossible that Sarah could have a child after so many years. But God repeated the promise again. Sarah would have a son. And that son would be the one through whom the promise would continue. God also told Abraham that the child must be named Isaac. Even the name of the child was already decided. This showed that nothing in this promise was uncertain. Everything had already been planned. God then gave Abraham a sign that the covenant was real. This sign would not be something small or easy to forget. It would be something that would remain with his family forever. God commanded Abraham and his household to follow the sign of the covenant. It was a sign that showed they belonged to God. This moment was not only about promises. It was also about commitment. God had chosen Abraham, but Abraham also had to remain faithful. Even though Abraham had laughed at first, he still believed what God had said. He trusted that God could do something that seemed impossible. And on that same day, Abraham obeyed God. He did exactly what God had commanded him to do. This showed that his faith was not only words. It was something real, something strong, something that did not depend on how old he was or how impossible the promise seemed. From that day forward, the promise was no longer just a distant hope. It was something that felt closer than ever before. The promise was no longer only about Abraham. It was now about Sarah too. And very soon, everything would begin to change. Because in the next story, 3 visitors would arrive with a message that would finally prove that the promise was about to come true.
Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe to help spread the word of our Lord. Thank you.